Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining me today. So we're going to follow up a little bit more about our introduction to economics. So we talked about what economics is, and then we led into a little bit about scarcity and how scarcity affects all of us and what that means in terms of rationing. So today we're going to discuss a little bit more about how that forces us to make choices. So the main concept that we're going to speak about today is opportunity cost. So we're going to run through the definition of opportunity cost and give you guys some examples so that you can really kind of understand how this affects you. All right, so first of all, let's read the definition. Opportunity cost is the most highly valued opportunity or alternative given up when a choice is made. All right, so simply put, when we make choices every single day, you're also giving up an opportunity when you make those choices, right? Because you're choosing between something and another thing. And if you choose this, you can't have this, right? So this is essentially what opportunity cost is. So I'll give you a little bit of an example here, and hopefully it'll help you understand it better. So let's say you get paid, right? And you get paid next week. And so you're going to use your paycheck. Well, what are you going to use it on, right? You probably have in mind the next thing that you want to buy, right? I like the example of if I give you $1,000, what are you going to spend it on? Well, you're going to make your choice, but you're probably going to have to think for a second and say, I'm going to choose between either this or this because there's two things that you want, right? You just want one more than the other. So with my last paycheck, I chose to purchase a new computer I wanted rather than a new camera I also wanted, right? So, what did you choose? So you had, let's say, $500, right? And you could buy a new camera with $500 or you could buy a new computer, right? So if those are the choices that you're deciding between, the computer appeals more to you. And the reason that it appeals more to you is because that computer might offer you more utility, right? You might need it. Maybe you already have a camera and you don't really have a computer that's running too well, so you want to upgrade, right? But if somebody's a photographer professionally, or if you have a working computer, you might make the other choice, right? It really depends on each individual how these choices are made. All right, so let's look at the example here. With my last paycheck, I chose to purchase a new computer I wanted rather than a new camera. So this was a decision between two goods, the computer, the camera, and we chose the computer. So in this example, what was the opportunity cost? Right? The opportunity cost was the camera. That's the opportunity that was cost in making that choice. Right? So this is a very simple way to understand opportunity cost. I'll give you another example. Right? Let's say you chose to wake up and go to school in the morning. Let's assume that we are going to school. So let's say you wake up and choose to go to school. Well, if you choose to go to school, then what's the opportunity cost? The next best option, right? The most highly valued alternative. What did you give up in order to come to school? Now the obvious answer here is sleep, right? So it's either, I really should go to school, but I really want to sleep in, and you wake up and you go to school. So the opportunity cost is you miss out on sleep. And we can think about this in a number of different ways. Another concept I want to address today is related to opportunity cost, and that is a trade-off. So trade-offs, if you'll see the definition, are the situation of having more of one good leading to having less of another good. Now, you might think that they're pretty much the same thing as opportunity cost, and while I agree that they are similar, trade-off is more about the goods, whereas opportunity cost we can use to apply to goods as well as actual experiences, like in the sleeping or going to school, right? Because you only have 24 hours a day, so each individual person uses those 24 hours differently, right? And we have opportunity costs associated, right? So whereas trade-offs is kind of related. It's leading to having more of something and less of something else. So I'll give you a perfect example that I like to use. So if you're looking at the market right now for precious metals, you see silver and gold are rising in value. Well, that's for a number of reasons. Mainly when the economy looks fragile, a lot of people invest in precious metals and silver and gold, and these kind of things kind of hold their money in other things instead of cash, right? So, but if we decide we're going to take our cash, right, and buy precious metals, right, we're making a trade-off, right? Instead of having savings in cash, right, which many of you do, and that's wonderful, you're making a trade-off and purchasing some in silver and gold, so you'll have more of gold and silver and less money, right? So this is kind of the trade-off that we make. So this can apply to other situations as well, right? You choose to have more canned foods during a hurricane, because we're in hurricane season right now here in South Florida. But you choose to have more canned food, right? And maybe less of something else, right? Whatever that good is. So that's the trade-off that you're making, right? So opportunity is more related to the physical experiences, whereas trade-offs are related to physical goods that you're prioritizing one over another. Okay, so now that we understand the difference between opportunity costs and trade-offs, I'm just going to give you a couple more examples of opportunity costs just to kind of solidify this in your mind. All right, so we have a few options here, right? We have what you choose to do and what you might have done instead, right? So in this section, you're going to see the opportunity cost is the what you might have done, right? Just keep that in mind. So let's say you choose to watch TV, right, tonight, and during that time period, what could you have done instead? What was the next best option? Maybe study. And I know you're thinking, there's many other things that would have taken priority over studying, and if that's the case, then there's something else that would have been the opportunity cost for you. All right, so another example, we used this one earlier. Let's say you choose to buy a computer, and what could you have done instead? Take a vacation, right? Not a lot of people are doing that right now in Corona world, but that's still, you spend $1,000 on a computer, or you can take a nice vacation for $1,000. Okay, well then we look at the experience here of going to sleep at 9 p.m. If you guys like to go to bed early, that's a good thing. You shouldn't be staying up too late. It's just not good for your sleep cycles, right? And we all need plenty of rest. So you choose to go to sleep at 9 p.m. But what could you have done instead? Right? I remember last night I was about to go to sleep at about 9:30, and I decided to watch something on TV with my wife. So that's the opportunity cost. If you do go to sleep at 9 p.m. and you're debating, oh, should I go to sleep or should I, watch this movie? But the movie's 2 hours, so after the movie it'll be 11 p.m. and that's kind of late, right? So you choose to go to sleep at 9 p.m. And this whole process of thinking through these decisions and choosing what brings us the most benefit or the utility, well, that's called economizing, right? And economics is really based off of that concept of what we chose to do rather than what we might have done or ought to have done instead. Right? So I hope that clarifies this whole concept of opportunity cost for you, and thanks again for joining me.